Bring, like, you think I'm gonna get tired of you? I don't see why not. Bring, but okay, let's see what happens. And I think that's romantic. I think it's very romantic. Um, Hello, lovers, and welcome back to another episode of Starring Cupid, starring me. It's your boy Zamadodex, nothing more, nothing less, from the east, not the west, if you're Kodola Vest. And welcome back to the podcast where we talk about your favorite couples and romantic pairings from TV and film. Today's special. Today we're holding on to the past as we discuss a film that questions the idea of a soulmate. It's Clementine and Joel from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a movie with no real genre and no beginning nor end. It's like sci-fi, but also romance, but also drama. It's a lot of things. The first time I watched this, I had no idea what it was about. And I was just watching it for the sake of watching a movie. And also I saw Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet, so I had to. And I remember when I finished watching it, I just thought to myself, this is brilliant. But what the hell? Like, that's what this movie felt like. There's no way I cannot speak about this couple, because aside from it warning us against the dangers of tinkering with your brain, this is a lovely depiction of the soulmate theory in romantic movies. And I wanted to explore that with you guys and talk to you guys about it, because I don't think people talk about these things. Without getting too deep into this, let's talk about Clementine and Joel. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind was made in 2004 and it was directed by Michael Gondry. You might not know his name, but there's a lot of work with his name on it. There's lots of short films and music videos, but I know him from, he directed Green Hornet and Be Kind Rewind. And so I already respected him a lot because of those two movies. I really like Green Hornet. I understand that comparing it to like the superhero movies of now, it's not that great, but there's something charming about it. And you got Christoph Waltz in it. I was sold. I like Green Hornet better than Green Lantern. Ooh, scandals. Anyway, Gondry was also on the writing team for this movie alongside Charlie Kaufman. And they ended up getting an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay at the 2005 Oscars. So kudos to them for this wonderful mindfuck of a script. This film relies a lot on sequences and transitions that are not normal for realism or realistic films. I'm struggling to find the word here. I don't know how to word this better. But think about how the transitions are on Scott Pilgrim, like the sequences in there were necessary because we knew that we were adapting a visual piece of work, i.e. the comic book, into this film. This film used it in such a way to show someone's thinking process, literally. And for that, I think it's bloody fucking cool because we get insights that we've never had into someone's brain. Like, it's not the normal way people show people's thinking process. And for that, I think it's really dope. Special mention to the special effects team. They worked really hard on doing that for us. So clicks to them. Clicks to them. On our cast, we have a great cast. This is a big one because I love both of these actors very much. We have the incredible Kate Winslet as Clementine. I'm so sorry, Kate. Clementine Krasinski. rolls off the tongue. Wow, that's a mouthful. Rolls off. And we know Winslet because how can you not? She's in everything. She's in Titanic, Collateral Beauty, the Steve Jobs biopic, the Dressmaker, and that COVID movie that terrified everyone. She's an OG. She's an OG. Only to be followed by another OG in his own right. We have the amazing Jim Carrey as Joel Barish. You know Jim Carrey because you can't not see him. He's also a person that's in everything from Ace Ventura, Liar Liar, Truman Show, Bruce Almighty, down to that Sonic movie. Two big actors that I love for different reasons, and they came together to be in something I never expected from either one of them. Notable mentions on this cast are notable, like emphasis on notable. We have Kirsten Dunst, Elijah Woods, Mark Ruffalo, my bubbly king, Shabata Hulk, and Tom Wilkinson. Today I read that Seth Rogen was almost on this movie, and honestly, I wish we got to see that too. This is such a weird group of actors to put together, and yet it worked, and I liked it, but also it would have been cool if Seth was there. But everyone that's in this did pretty well, really well. I enjoyed it. If you have not seen this movie, understandable. I do suggest you do go watch it. It's really lovely. I can't emphasize that enough. But if you have not watched it, here is the basic summary. There is no basic summary because summarizing this plot, the story, doesn't fully capture the beauty of this film. But I'll try my best, guys. For you, I'll try. This film is about a couple that has a very ugly breakup, and they get medical procedures done to remove the relationship from their memories. Yeah, that's it. There's obviously going to be consequences when you're fucking with the human brain. As is with every episode, this will be full of spoilers, and for this one, I'd strongly suggest you watch the movie first because my spoilers will truly ruin it for you. But also, if you watch this and then you listen to this will be a good time. So go find the movie. I think it's on Netflix last time I checked, but go enjoy it. It's a wonderful, fantastic movie. Joel and Clementine are a couple that I have not seen depicted in a long time in this way, and using science fiction as to kind of show this relationship is something new as well. So they're worth watching this movie, and they're worth the trouble of watching this and then listening to me. Does that make sense? Does that sound like I'm putting myself on? But anyway, let's find out why I say they're worth the trouble. In order for me to speak about this romantic pairing accurately, I have to walk the timeline a bit, because you see, things don't unfold in a chronological and linear order. We're shown a little bit of the past, the present, past memories, and then at the end we get what I assume is the possible future or the current present. Wow, time travel. It's a deliberate setting, and I acknowledge that it helps tell the story, but I need to manipulate it for like 20 minutes to make this episode. Here we go. Now, Clem and Joel are very different from one another, not only in how they look and their like outwardly appearance, but how they act or how their personalities are set up. And somehow they found a space where they can live with those differences and it doesn't hinder their relationship. I've spoken about why I like these opposites attract couples. it's this whole thing back. It's going back to this thing of, yes, we're different. We're very different people. But because we love each other, we are making this effort to be together. And that's beautiful. That's what's beautiful about Clem and Joel for me. In the flashbacks, we get to go through Joel's memory, and we see these lovely examples of them having a good time as a couple. So we know that it can work. We know that their relationship can exist and it will work out. Unfortunately, life isn't eternal sunshine, and sometimes they would fight. They argued a few times, and they were all quite intense arguments, but nothing too intense. I say intense because they were arguing about things that were serious, but it never got to the point where it was bad, until one day it was bad. And like, one of these intense arguments leads to them separating in the first place. I want to say that argument wasn't that bad, but words were said. But that argument that breaks them up is the worst kind of argument I think they would have. Now, with that in mind, we still understand that this is a relationship that can work and be healthy for both of them. So we like this opposites attract, and also we get it that sometimes people fight, but they can still be together and be happy if they want to be. Due to the mind erasing thing, this couple gives us 2 unique gunboy moments. I still haven't found a name for them. Not gonna lie, I might have forgotten about it, but now when it was time for me to talk about this thing, I was like, oh no, Zama, you still haven't found a word for this thing. And I was like, oh no, well, they'll forgive me. You guys have to forgive me. You're listening, aren't you? So yeah, gunboy moments. The first actual meeting that these two have is at a beach party, and the second is in the train, at the train station, post their mind wiping procedures. Both times we see Joel having that gunboy moment, and they're exactly the same. He is in awe of Clem. Whether it's all attraction or it's all curiosity, I'm not completely sure, but I know that he genuinely fell in love with her twice. Like Joe loved her so much that he fought the brain operation tooth and nail as hard as he could, as hard as he did. We never find out whether or not Clem fought the procedure as hard as he did, but judging by how badly she reacted when that, what was her name? What was that nigga's name? Elijah Wood's character. I think his name's like Patrick or something. But yeah, we can assume that Clem did fight the procedure, because when Patrick tries to pass off Joel's words or Joel's actions as his own, she reacts really badly to it. She breaks down. So we can assume that she loves Joel a lot because of that. Just don't ask me why. Guys, after I saw that, I was like, no, this girl loves this man. That was enough for me. I've said this before, that it's nice to see a male lead fall as hard as we see the female leads in these movies, in these romantic movies. Joel was deeply in love and then deeply heartbroken when Clem was gone. And it was a thing. It was the movie focused on it. They didn't try to make him seem like he was too cool for this. He felt all the emotions. He felt all the heartbreak. They showed us all the love, and I like it when people do that for male characters. Yeah. I noticed that he also changed any criticism Clementine gave him in the beginning of the relationship. He makes these small little changes in his current life and what we're presented as the current present of the story. there's a scene where they're hanging out when they were still together. There's a scene where they're hanging out, and I think she's complaining that she never knows what Joel is thinking or what's going on in his head. And then when we're in the flashbacks in Joel's mind, we see that Joel was dictating everything as hard as he could in his little journals, and that gives us a direct insight into his head. Now we know that he was doing it for memory. He was doing it to remember everything. But I'll pretend, for me at least, that he was doing it because he was trying to be better, like the way that Clementine wanted him to be better. And it's nice when you do that. You hear something that your partner has said that they don't like, and you work on it and you practice it and you preach it. You preach it. It's lovely to see. I think people should adopt that more. People should do that more, but within reason. Yeah. Then we get Clem. Sweet, messy, and relatable Clementine. What is it with women with multicolored wigs that gets to me? First it was Ramona and Scott Pilgrim versus the world, and now it's Clementine. Do I have a thing? Anyway, sorry. I love Clem because she's not the typical romantic interest that we see. She is quite messy in a sense, we never get to the bottom of why she is that way, but I like how it was written in not a bad or demeaning way. Yes, she's a mess, but she knows who she is, and she wants everyone she dates to get that immediately. There's a wonderful quote that she repeats at different occasions because warped timeline, and she says it differently in both ways, and it slaps in those both ways. Quick shout out to Kate, I'm an actress, honey, Winslet for that. Love that. Clem says, too many guys think I'm a concept, or I complete them, or I'm gonna make them alive. But I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for her own peace of mind. Don't assign me yours. And I had to scream. Because, yes, queen, speak on my life like you know who I am. She says that, and she means it. She's not here to be the boyfriend clinic because she has her own shit to do. She has her own shit to deal with. If you're coming to her to kind of find yourself, you're gonna lose yourself because she's not here for that. Joel admits that he did when he came to her, or when he was attracted to her in the beginning, it is because she felt like healing to him or felt different for him. But that idea is soon closed off. By that quote, and also just by Clem herself, she shuts that stuff down. And then she has to... I enjoy the fact that after she says it the second time, and the second time that they hypothetically meet, I say hypothetically, I'm putting those finger quotes around second time they meet because it's technically the first time for them. The second time that they meet, he's ready to enter this relationship and be there only to love her. He doesn't need anything else from her anymore. He misses her. He wants to be with her now. He wants to be with Clem now. Then she has to deal with this other fear that she has. Okay, what if he gets tired of me? Is the argument they're kind of having near the end. There's a long answer he could have said here. And Joel simply says, okay. As in, okay then, bring it on. You think I'm gonna get tired of you? I don't see why not. But okay, let's see what happens. And I think that's romantic. I think it's very romantic to be, when you're a person that is, let's say, messy, because I don't want to use any other word, and messy feels universal. When you're someone as messy as Clem is, to find a romantic partner that values you and also loves you through it all, through the attitude, through the mood swings, through the, oh, I don't think I'm capable of loving someone, I don't think that's what I'm designed to do. When someone hears all of that and sees all of that and sees you for who you are, and they go, okay, let's go, that's romantic for me. Especially when you're not perfect, that's romantic for me. Please continue doing that, putting that on my screen. This pairing had me thinking about how people talk about soulmates in film, and I realized that this might be one of the best depictions I've seen in a while. I don't know why I'm talking like this. I'm sorry. Does it sound like I'm a turtle? But yeah, this is one of the best depictions of the soulmate. I wanna say soulmate theory, because obviously it is a theory. Not everyone else believes in soulmates, but movies talk about it because romantic comedies rest on the soulmate theory. Lots of movies talk about it, but this is the only movie where I felt like, okay, this is cool. This makes sense. This explains the soulmate theory to me wonderfully. And I say that because in other films, soulmates fall apart because of some dramatic scenario. If we take The Notebook, for example, they can't be together because the parents disapprove. Okay, haven't heard that before. It's like, I get why it's a hurdle, but it's nothing major. It's in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Nothing major happened. They just broke up. And people break up all the time. Whether the cause of the breakup was serious or not everyone gets back together with their ex. But also, like, not everyone is dating their soulmate and then they break up. But that's what I like about this, because this film showed me a story where we have these two people that are destined for one another to the point where they just keep finding each other every time. I read on the IMDb page that there's a version of this where Clementine Joel would date, they would break up, they'd do the procedure, and then they'd find each other and they'd date all over again. It's this idea that your soulmate will find you time and time again until you're just together. And it's unfair because that's the case of the soulmate theory, but we just never know. No one comes to you or sends you like an email and be like, oh, congratulations, you've finally cracked it, you found your soulmate. Whatever you do, just don't break up. Like, they take the natural course of most romantic relationships, but because they're meant to be, for whatever reasons that they're meant to be, they just keep finding each other, and I think that's cute. I think that's romantic. Obviously, it's not saying that you must go back to your toxic ex. Like, no, that's not the lesson here. I'm not a fortune teller, but any person that hurts you or makes you feel horrible is not your end game. That's not the person you're gonna get your soulmate email from. I promise you. The romantic message here is that only is showing us a pair of soulmates reuniting after struggling without each other. And I don't know, man, for that reason, I think this couple is wonderful. It's time again to do the likes and dislikes portion of the podcast. Before I start, quick shout out to my big brother, who probably will never hear this. He influenced me to watch this without really telling me what it's about. Like when I said in the beginning that I went into this movie not knowing what the hell it was about, he is one of those people that were like, hey dude, watch it. And now it's like in my personal top 10 films ever. So shout out to him, thanks, and to Sian. That being said, here are my dislikes and my likes. I really enjoyed the way that they shot this film. When you hear the concept for this, I can't imagine how the director originally wanted to do this or how he wanted to shoot it, but the way it's executed is so creative. It's so different to the romance movies we usually see. I compared it to Scott Pilgrim because they had something similar to the comic book transitions, yet in this movie it didn't take away from the story. All these things that were happening were just there to add to the narrative. Nothing took away from it, and for that I think it's awesome. So awesome. I like Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet together and stuff. I want them to act together again in something as quirky as this was, because they're really great. Like some actors act together once or twice, and there's just something about the way they are together. And I know that like Hollywood sees it as well, because there will be times when they recast a pair of actors as a couple again. I raise you Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. Wow, I can't think of a single example aside from them right now, but you know what I mean. So I like Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet acting together. It doesn't have to always be romantic, but I do want to see them together again. I like how the story was structured. Usually I hate things where the timeline isn't linear, because having to keep track of when certain events happened it's too much for me. It's too mind-numbing for me. Then I started to watch Westworld, a fantastic existential crisis for 3 seasons long. And I got used to having stories that exist in different timelines. And I like it in this movie because we get to see the full timeline of a romantic relationship, and we don't get to see that a lot in rom-coms. We always usually seeing the beginning and the happy part, a little conflict, but always the happy part. Like, we saw everything with this couple, and I like how they structured it to show us everything. What I disliked. This is tough because there's not much to dislike. Like I said, this is one of my top 10 personal faves. But obviously there's always something to critique. I truly hated Elijah Wood's character because he's so annoying, number one. He's such a creep, number two. But because in his deception, in his plan to kind of make Clem fall for him, he wasn't trying hard enough for me. Like, dude, if you're going to do something underhanded like that, make sure that you're going to do it well. You know, that's all I ask of you in your deception. I don't like how there were missing pieces in the story. Early on in Joel's flashbacks, we find out that Joel was engaged to another person when he first originally met Clementine, and I don't think they did enough to tell us about that. And then when I was researching for this thing, I found out that they did have footage with Joel and his fiance, and it just never made the final cut. Obviously directors and writers and stuff have their reasons for every cut in the film, but personally, scenes like that would have been really useful for this. I would have really liked to see how Joel was in other relationships beforehand, because he looked so miserable when he met Clementine. But who am I? Who am I though? I am merely a young, hopeless romantic who started a podcast within 24 hours of getting the idea. We are at the end of the show, and this week I wanted, for who's your fave, of course, this week I wanted to focus on our lead actors, because they've both been a part of famous cinematic pairings. And so I thought, why not pit them against each other, for a little hee-hee, for a little ha-ha. So, in this week's Who's Your Fave? In this corner, we have Jane and Dick from Carrie's popular rom-com Fun with Dick and Jane. I'm not gonna lie, I've not finished this movie yet. I got like 3/4 into it and I can't remember what happened. But from what I saw and what I watched, I really enjoyed Fun with Dick and Jane. They're a cool pair. And then in the other corner, we have Rose and Jack from Winslet's critically acclaimed role in Titanic. Everybody has at least seen 20 minutes of Titanic. I don't have to talk about them. You know about them. They're iconic now. You're going to say that this is an unfair fight, and I'm well aware. But I believe in underdogs, so I believe in one of these couples. But you have to decide. You have to rep for your set. I'm sorry. You have to decide who gets the crown. Maybe I should make an end of season head-to-head battle. Like those. I want to compare it to March Madness, but I don't know enough about basketball and I don't want to sound silly. But maybe I should do that. Maybe I will. And if I do, you'll find out about it when you follow us on Twitter at Starring Cupid and on Tumblr at Starring Cupid the podcast. That is it from me this week. Join us again and next week when we talk about a different romantic pairing of a different kind. Thank you so much for the support and the love so far. Don't forget to send us your suggestions of couples you wish had happened. Like, for example, in this movie, I wish that Mark Ruffalo and Kirsten Dunst's characters in this movie had gotten together because they were so cute. Oh my goodness. Like, they deserved to have their own time. But I get it wasn't their movie, but that's not the point. Don't forget to send us your suggestions on that. Like I said, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. If you guys like us enough, we might get an Instagram page. Who knows? The future is bright. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.